Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Pope Metallicus, and welcome back to Rock and Roll Religion, where we have a bit of a special episode for you today. We are going to be talking about some of our favorite live records of all time, because it's something I don't cover on the channel a lot, and it's something I think is fairly underappreciated in the older era of rock and roll, is just how impactful a live record can be, both your audience and people who've never heard you before. Like, the live performance is a huge part of this genre, and I don't think we talk about it enough. So, without further ado, we have our usual suspects. We have our anti-communism robot, the Sentinel,
Hail.
and we have Sergeant Spice Rack.
Hell, how you doing?
How's it going, my guys?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Always, it's always fun to talk some metal with you boys. And to start off with, who did you guys have in mind when we first came up with this topic, in terms of just the best live album you've ever heard?
Best live album. There's a few different ones that I was thinking of, but probably one of the first, and this was years ago, like when I was still in high school, but my first guitar teacher was showing me a whole bunch of different guitarists and stuff, kind of like in Joe Satriani, Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Van Halen, all those guys. But one of the very first that he introduced me to, because it's his favorite guitarist, was Steve Vai.
Ooh, yeah.
And I can't remember which live performance it was, but it was from his man, I'm totally blanking on the name, but I think it was called Love and War or something like that. I'll have to look it up in a second here, but it was the live tour performance. And it was a DVD, so that's what we had back then, were DVDs. Yeah, it was mid 2000s, but he showed me that performance, live recording for the whole tour of it, and I was just blown away. Not only how good of a guitarist it was, but at that time I had no idea that you could actually record live performances and they'd sound good, right? And then
Yeah.
that just kind of went down the rabbit hole for me of all these different performances. You'd have Jimi Hendrix live recording of Woodstock and all
Oh,
that stuff
that
like
live
that.
set at Woodstock was just
Phenomenal.
this
Yeah.
man left that earth on that fucking set.
Oh yeah. You could
And that's
tell
the
he was in a
awesome thing
different
about
realm.
live records is,
Hmm.
or about live performances is, it could be a bog standard performance where everything just kind of happens as it should, and you hear what you paid for, and then occasionally you get those live records that it just completely surpasses the material it was written.
By the way, greatest version of the national anthem ever by Jimi Hendrix.
I would say very close. I would say Iced Earth's version on Glorious Burden is better.
Ooh,
But
that's a good one.
You one up
can't
me
go
there.
wrong. You can't go wrong.
I don't know why. Okay.
Either one is.
But it was the best
phenomenal
up until that point. I'm going to say that.
I can't imagine having been around at that point, or especially at Woodstock, and hearing that live, and just hearing the sound in the background of everyone's jaw hitting the floor. Because that's just one of those moments where you're just like, I don't even know what I'm watching, but I love it. Also, Boosh, I am drinking Jack's Abbey's House Lager, the local brewery in Massachusetts. I don't know if they distribute elsewhere, but I like them pretty good.
So it wasn't Passion and Warfare, because that release was quite a bit after, because this was around 2004.
There was a lot of them that came out late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Specifically for the DVD and the live recording, I think what came out right around that time, because I remember watching it, so it's September or October of 2004. And so this DVD, this was live in Astoria, London, and specifically that one, because I just remember he had that weird. Steve Vai's always been kind of flamboyant with the way that he dresses and stuff like that. That's well known, but
yeah, it's part of his.
yeah, this
it's part of his shtick.
Yeah, it's part of the shtick. Yeah, I just remember it specifically because he had that like mesh black top for that performance. But yeah, no, I remember that one specifically, and the guitar that he played. I think there was a couple, but the main one he played was his classic white C Vi with the vinyl life fret inlay. But yeah, that one, that's got to be like one of my favorite. Like as far as like live performances that I've watched on DVD. But I've got a couple of like concerts that I've been to that I have in mind. Like once we like start getting into that for
Yeah, well, I
sure.
think we'll go through the live albums first, and then we'll start
Live
comparing
albums.
some of the greater shows we've been to.
Okay, okay.
Because damn, there have been some
Yeah.
amazing shows that I've been a part of.
Now
Um,
you brought up Ice Earth. I'm wondering if the one that I'd heard of was the same one that you were talking about.
Alive in Athens.
Mm, live albums. I'm gonna take a look and see which ones they have.
in the meantime, Sentinel, what do you have for us for live albums that you really, really enjoy?
I think my favorite live album of all time is Halford Live Insurrection, where he
Okay.
Mm,
played Rock in Rio in 2000, 2001.
I've
That is the most incredible.
I have that record,
That
and
is
damn,
fucking
it's good.
amazing.
I hadn't actually considered that one on my list, but
mm,
damn, yeah, you're right. That
It,
thing's
oh my,
fucking sick.
that's the greatest Halford has ever sounded in his life, in my opinion. The versions of Tyrants, Genocide, and a lot of those 70s pre-songs sound so
That was the cool
fucking
thing with
heavy.
Halford was he was doing reduxes of a lot of classic Priest stuff
Exactly.
that they never would
Exactly.
have done because they're not considered classics by anything other than the Priest nerds like us.
Mhm.
okay, okay.
But they are excellent songs, and he did a fantastic job covering them.
He sang those songs better on that live album than he did on the records. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Mm,
no, you're right. I think he sounded better even in the lower register that he sang him in.
He
mm,
growls. He growls on parts of those songs, man.
Well,
mm,
I think that was part of that, like, getting older, your voice changes a lot. And
Exactly.
I think he down tuned his entire voice by almost an entire octave.
mm.
So
I
his
was
range didn't change, it just went down.
exactly.
Yeah.
He filled.
Although
He
he every now and again he still amazes me by like Halls of Valhalla or something like that, where he goes right back into that banshee shriek that we all know and love.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like so, even in his 70s, the man is still able to sing like that, which is impressive in its own right.
I
Yeah, that's oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I believe that Halford's vocals when he's younger sound cleaner, and when he's older they sound meaner. His vocals
Meaner.
sound meaner. As soon as he hit his 40s around 2001,
Mm.
his vocals just have gotten just meaner
I
and
think he
more
took
evil
that time.
sounding, and
I think he took that time off from Priest well and realized that his voice wasn't what it used to be, and had to get to terms with that for a couple of years,
I'm
and
just kind of
then
change
came out and
it.
he still sounds just as good as he used to.
it's
Mm.
incredible what he did. He added all these little tricks to his vocal repertoire, and it just added such a more metal, heavy kind of dynamic
Yeah, it
in
does
terms of
sound a
approaching
little more
live.
a little more gravelly, a little more dirty,
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
more
and I think that
raspy at
makes it
times,
more.
guttural almost at times.
In a way, it makes it more authentic.
Yeah.
Because as
Mm.
much as I love, like the Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith era, his vocals were extremely clean.
hmm
And I think there were bands that came out at the same time and a little bit later that incorporated that little bit of grit in the vocal style that I think sounded great.
hmm
So when Priest reformed, I mean, and I think they got it right on later albums like Ram It Down and Painkiller.
Yes.
But then when they reformed in 2003, they really start, especially in 05 with Angel of Retribution, you really start to hear that newer style of Halford's voice, which was just mind blowing to everybody.
hmm
Mm. Okay, okay. Now you guys got me really curious. I want to hear this new live albums stuff. You said it
L-
was
Um, Halford Live Insurrection.
Live Insurrection. Okay.
Mhm.
No, my
Find the one that hasn't been remastered. I like it. I like the original a little bit more in terms
Ah,
of
yeah,
live.
yeah.
no,
Int-
my favorites are actually two shows, both
Mm.
by the same band, or two albums, both by the same band. One done in 1981, and the other one done in 2005.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hmm.
And that would be No Sleep Till Hammersmith
I knew it. Yep.
Mm.
and Stage Fright.
Awesome
Because
record.
Motorhead is one of the most fucking Titanic live bands ever.
Oh, hands down, hands
Hmm.
down.
Like even just from sheer volume and energy, even if it's not just like pure talent. Like the live versions of a lot of their songs sound way better than even the studio versions, and I love the studio versions. Like
Hmm.
there's a reason they're right behind Judas Priest as my favorite band of all time. Like there is no such thing as bad Motorhead. Like some albums come close to like or like Orgasmatron or stuff like that may not be as good as other ones, but there's no bad record that they've ever done. And their live records hold up amazingly well.
Yeah, yeah. There is a I can't remember if it's like a whole sort of documentary that they did with Motorhead. It came out like kind of like a few years ago, but it
Yeah, probably
was
I own
probably.
that documentary. Yeah, let me
okay.
49% motherfucker,
Yep,
51% son of a bitch.
yep.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah,
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 my brother got it for me for my birthday back in like 2010. So
yeah,
it's been
yeah.
around a while.
It was a good documentary, and it showed just how fucking amazing Motorhead is live.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, and the some of the conversations that they would have with Lemmy and like the other guys that he would hang out with. I think because I think that there was like some band members that he had with him, but then there was like some of the like just other people that were in the music industry he'd hung out with and that like knew him really well.
Oh yeah, I mean he had been around for so long that like guys like Rob Halford and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and Ozzy both toured with him
Mm.
extensively and just were genuine friends of his.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish we could see more videos of the three of them just hanging out backstage together. I hope there's some
Right.
footage somewhere that they can remaster in HD and put it out because I want to see like 80s Ozzy, 80s Lemmy, and 80s Rob just hanging out backstage drinking tea and just bullshitting with each other. I have to see that. I have to know that existed somewhere.
Yeah,
You know?
in Lemmy's case, it was probably going to be a Jack and Coke pretty much at all
Oh,
times.
of course.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because that was pretty
Bob
much
was
just
drinking the
what
tea.
he drank, but just because that's what he drank.
Yeah.
Pure
I was gonna say I'm not
at
sure
all
it would be
times.
tea per se, but we could just call it tea.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
But yeah.
If you mix it right, whiskey, Jack and Coke can look like tea sometimes.
Oh, for sure.
Hey,
But
there's been a few times I've mixed whiskey with tea, and it's actually not that bad. It's
I've actually done the same, and it's
yeah,
not bad. I don't mind it.
it's no what's it called, the twisted teas or whatever. But
Yeah,
if you like, yeah, you make it on your own, like it's actually pretty fucking good. Yeah,
but no, I would say that No Sleep Till Hammersmith
no sleep
was
till
one of the
Hammersmith.
first just meteoric
Hmm.
live albums from the metal community.
I remember that being another one that my teacher showed me. I was like, it's phenomenal.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's literally exactly what you expect it is. There's no surprises. It's just Motorhead, louder, faster, and uncut.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Stage Fright's more of the same. Just
Yeah.
later in their career when they add in things like Sacrifice and Inferno and a
Mhm.
couple other things like that, and then they ended off the whole set with probably the best rendition of Overkill I have ever heard.
Mm.
This thing is just an absolute thermonuclear warhead, and that's how they ended the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just one of those. It's like if you were there, you know what we're talking about, and you will talk about it until the day you die as one of the greatest live experiences you've ever heard.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
And it's loud as fuck too,
Mm.
just as Motorhead is wont to do.
I
Just
think
crank everything up.
Stage Fright was released in 2005. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think the documentary filmmakers who made the Lemmy documentary were with Lemmy through that tour onward,
It's
because
entirely
they
possible.
were also there during the recording of Motorizer, so they had to have
Which
been
that
there
came out,
prior
yeah.
to 2008. So
Yeah,
I'm
so-
thinking, and the reason I say that is because during the documentary, there's a person who takes checks how loud the concert is, and it's like 139 decibel
Which
at
is
one point.
fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
When you look at it, like that, like that's just Motorhead in a nutshell. It's just loud as fuck, and you wouldn't want it any other way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think a 747 landing is 137 decibels, so they're 1 decibel louder than a fucking jumbo jet.
Yep, that does not surprise me. Hey, Courtney, we're talking some Motorhead right now.
What's up?
If you want the link, I'm absolutely willing to have you on because we're talking some of our favorite live records, and right now we're going over No Sleep Till Hammersmith and Stage Fright as two of the best and most insane live records ever made. And again, neither one is like over the top. They didn't do like an insanely different rendition of any of their songs. They just played Motorhead. Louder, faster, and out of control, the way it should be.
Right.
And it just became like No Sleep Till Hammersmith, especially, has just become this like when it comes to live albums, it's one of the ones everyone points to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for that.
That's right.
Gonna make me pull it up. I want to listen to it.
Hey, Hope, have you seen Motorhead live, right?
I have not actually. I've never actually seen them live, and unfortunately, I never will now.
Man, listen, I saw them live a couple times. They live up to everything you could possibly imagine them live. I can confirm that's how they are live. Three guys.
They seem like that band. They seem like that band.
2.5 hours. And then when they leave, they leave the guitars and bass on, shrieking, and
just going to feedback and just creating this wall of noise as they walk off stage.
And for the next 48 hours, you have tendonitis.
I mean,
I love that.
I mean, I have that constantly, but that's just
that's just normal.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's just normal for me. But
I was wearing earplugs, and I could still hear the ringing hours later. That's how loud it was. It was incredible. Great performance too. And the stuff Lemmy was saying to the audience was just cracking me up. They pulled a prank. Let me tell you, I saw them on Metal Masters Tour in 2008, and it was the last date of the Metal Masters Tour, and that was Testament, Motorhead, Heaven and Hell, and Judas Priest.
Jesus, fuck, that is a lineup.
That is.
I saw them at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, and during Testament's set, Motorhead plays a prank on Testament by dressing up as Mexicans and bringing a donkey out on stage, and they've got like wearing a ranchero hat with like a fake mustache, and Phil Campbell is in like a the kind of the little ponchos, the colored ponchos that they wear, and Lemmy is just sweeping behind them with a brush, and he looks like Yasser Arafat because he's wearing some like Arab kind of like thing, and he's just smiling at the crowd as he's sweeping behind the donkey. I think Phil was riding. This is like Phil was riding the donkey. Mickey D was pulling it along, and this is during like Over the Wall.
Holy shit!
This is going on.
So like that is the last place on earth that donkey wants to be.
My ass off.
That's fucking awesome.
And that's the shit you only get live.
Yeah.
Like Sabaton has done it almost every time seeing them live. They're just sitting there, even like if it's just other members fucking with the other members of the band on stage.
Yeah.
So
Like, but it's just some of that really humanizing moments
yeah,
that just
yeah.
sell the band to you in ways that you never really would. You'd never see otherwise. Even though you know they do this shit to each other all the time.
Right.
Like
right.
one of the tricks that Sabaton played was actually on one of their opening bands.
Okay.
Creator. Tommy from Sabaton snuck out on stage behind the drummer and undid the wing nut on top of the guy's cymbal. So when he smashed the cymbal at the end of the song, the cymbal just went fucking flying.
So it wasn't just like it was going crazy. It was just like went completely off.
Oh yeah, no, it just he hit it. It just fucking flew off the pedestal.
That is fucking
And
awesome.
you can see him just like, the fuck?
So this is a bit off topic, right? But we're talking about live performances. So when you think of this is actually there's a couple of bands on this lineup that we've talked about, and one band in particular that has not played a show in like 2 decades and is playing again, Merciful Fate.
Yes.
And another couple of bands too that haven't played in a long time, but this is an absolutely killer lineup. And I just found out because Born of Osiris, the band that I follow, is like that little banner I've got behind. They're playing. They're doing like a kind of like opener slot on the 3rd day for this festival, Heaven and Hell Fest. It just reminded me when you said that. I was like, oh shit, I got to tell you guys about this. Be interested to see what bands are in it. But yeah, I saw bands like Judas Priest, Merciful Fate. Pantera, of course, because Pantera's they're playing again. Striper is playing a show on this lineup.
And from what I've heard, Striper puts on a hell of a live show.
Yeah,
I have
apparently.
to see them. I've never seen them live. I got to check that off my book.
From what I hear, it's actually fantastic. Which you know us. I'm not a huge Striper fan, but
yeah,
if guys like Razorfist are saying they put on a hell of a live show, and he's seen them, the other one that's coming on tour fairly quickly is Wasp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to go see them live.
Oh no.
That sucks, man.
It's right when I'm moving. They're coming to Boston November 16th.
Yeah.
So, and that's probably going to be right when I'm in the middle of the final move.
Gotcha.
I am going to have tickets to Judas Priest in October. And
Okay.
I am going to see Airborne September
11th.
Okay.
I've heard they're fun live.
They seem fun just in general. Like they're basically a younger AC/DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've never seen them live, so I'm a huge fan of their album. So hey, let's face it, let's get it. like you can never tell an band entirely until you see them live.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And if you ever get a chance to meet any of the guys that are playing too, just to say hi, like kind of get a feel for like what they're
100%.
like talking to, that's got to be like one of the best things too.
Or how they react with their fans in general, especially unplanned.
Yeah. It's like you were saying about like how they act on the on stage and like the funny antics. It's another way of sort of like humanizing these people, really. That's one of the things, like a lot of friends that I've had growing up, they'll just look at musicians as like, oh, they're just otherworldly, that you don't even see them as human because they're like in a band. They kind of idolize these people, and a lot of people forget these musicians, they're humans just like us. They're people
let me
just like us,
talk about it in that phenomenon. And he was just like, people don't come to a show to see the guy next door. They come to see an alien from another fucking planet.
Exactly.
So go out there and be that alien from the other fucking planet.
They want you to be what you imagine them to be.
Yeah,
right.
Yes, you're playing a character on stage while you're playing an instrument.
Exactly.
Like you're not just a rock star to them. Like you're this weird thing from another world that just came down tonight and is gracing you with their presence.
And that's who Lemmy really is, to be honest. He's an anomaly, without a doubt.
In every sense, yeah.
And yet, when he wasn't live, or when he wasn't on tour with Motorhead, he would just be hanging out at the Rainbow every night, and you could just come up to him and talk to him.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
I did.
Yeah.
And I just shook his hand and said what a fan I was and stuff like that. Like, I didn't want to bother the man
Mhm.
Yeah.
because he's, just there to have a drink and have a good time. So fuck it. I sat there. I mean, I sat down, shook his hand, bought him a drink, and
Yeah.
told him
Yeah.
how much he meant to us. And he is such a humble dude in real life, where he's just like you can tell it makes him uncomfortable when people praise him like that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it makes me uncomfortable if I get praised like that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, yeah, whenever for me, it's I don't really know how to handle compliments as well as I know how to handle criticism.
Well,
I
I come from the Marine Corps, where nothing you do is ever good enough until you earn a medal, in which case probably a lot of people deserve it a lot more than you. Or died for you to get that. So, that's one of those things where shit happens sometimes, but like none of us are like almost every single fucking Marine that I know, at least grunts, and even a lot of the Army grunts too, that I know, would rather get wounded than get a medal.
Yeah.
Because it's really uncomfortable being called up in front of the entire unit and receiving that medal. Like, yeah, there's a ceremony, and you are called out in front of all of your peers and are singled out, which is something that we're extremely uncomfortable with because we're trained to operate as a unit.
Right.
Mhm.
So, like, nothing that we ever do is in a vacuum.
If anything, it should be your entire unit, not you being singled out.
That's our
That gets
opinion
the
on it,
award.
usually.
Yeah.
And even if I was the one who, ran out under fire and got this guy out, back to the line or neutralized that bunker or whatever, the rest of my guys were the ones giving me covering fire and allowing me to do it without getting shredded.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Or we just do something completely insane and off the rails. And that's when you have things like the Medal of Honor, which 60% of the guys who have ever been awarded the Medal of Honor, it was awarded to their family.
Yeah.
Because what you did was so absolutely asinine and out of the box that you should have died doing it.
Yeah.
And some of them miraculously managed to survive. Two Marines in history have done it twice and lived through both attempts. There's two guys who have 2 Medals of Honor and lived through both of them. And there's many more who died during their second attempt because that's just who they are, those people.
Yeah.
And the Corps will forever remember their names. Like, that's one of those just like you are a hero of the Marine Corps, whether you want to be or not. And then there's a couple of guys like Lieutenant General Chesty, or Lewis B. Puller, known as Chesty to the Marines, who was awarded 5 Navy Crosses, which, for those of you who don't know, is one step below the Medal of Honor. And 2 of those should have been medals. But at the time, there was this weird phase where the American government went through where like officers didn't get awarded the Medal of Honor. So they just get the Navy Cross. And yeah, that man is the most decorated and badass Marine of all time because he started as a buck private in the 1920s. And by World War II, he was a colonel. And by the end of Korea, he was a 3-star general. So he went from literally the lowest rank in the military to one of the highest ranks that you can attain in the U.S. military.
Yeah.
And usually, like, people don't jump from enlisted to officer. They're just 2 different sides of the coin, and he did, and did it well.
Yeah. I have an uncle who was in the Navy, and when he retired, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was like a rear brigadier or something like that. It was one of the higher up ranks, but he didn't start as like E0, E1, like one of the like petty ranks. He started out as an officer just because of where he tested up. There's like
Well, I
I
mean, a
remember
lot
him
of it
telling
too
me,
is when you go to college. If you
mm,
go to college, you can just go in as an officer.
right, right, and that's what he was telling me too. Is like, it just depends on your education, how smart you are, how good you're with your testing. But yeah, it is pretty rare to start from like the lowest rank and make your way up like that. That's
There are guys what we call Mustangs
mm,
that basically started as enlisted and then proved their way into um, an officer training program, and in some cases they got the Marine Corps to pay for it.
oh wow.
Which there is something we call the MESEP program, where basically if you're a good enough NCO,
Mm-hmm.
the Marine Corps will pay for you to go to a 4-year university through the
Mm,
ROTC program
right, right.
and pay for you to become an officer essentially, with the understanding that you then owe them time after you complete that.
Right, right. You can't just, have them pay for your schooling to become an officer and then dip.
Yeah,
That's
you owe them an entire enlistment after that,
yeah,
which is also the deal with our which is that's not unfair because that's also the deal the ROTC cadets get.
right.
Is if the military is paying for your school,
Mm,
you owe them a term of service after you get out, and if you fail,
mm-hmm.
you either owe them the money or you owe them a term of service as an enlistedman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've known more than one officer who fell off the ladder and ended up down here with the rest of us.
Mm.
So that's one of those. But getting back to like the live album stuff, like goddamn, like some of the and there's another. I think it's called Live at the Web Theater from Megadeth.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
You know the one I'm talking about, where
Hmm.
the end of it is this 9-minute rendition of She Wolf, which is
Yeah,
just fucking titanic.
yeah, yeah. Dude, just Dave Mustaine just fucking shreds with that.
And
Is
I
that
mean,
the
it's the entire band is just killing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Live at
Uh,
the Web Theater? Is that the one they released in 2010, and they played the full album of Rust in Peace with it?
I'm not
um,
sure.
maybe.
I'm gonna look it
I
up.
think it might be. I know that the rendition of She Wolf at the end was just absolutely nuts. Like that is the definitive version of that song. I actually wasn't a big fan of the album version, but now it's up in my top 10 Megadeth songs because hearing how the band will actually play it live is just monstrous.
YouTube's giving me like every other one except that one.
Let me see if I can look it up. Actually, let me not do that so we don't get struck here.
Redwood Theater. Yep.
God no,
Oh, at the Redwood?
no, it's at the Web
What?
Theater.
The Web Theater in
Oh, Red
Arizona?
Theater.
I
Oh,
think
okay,
so.
okay. Yeah.
Wait, is it 2001? The year?
I don't know why I had Redwood.
I think it is 2001. Yeah.
Okay.
And Courtney, don't shut up. Your opinion is always welcome here. Hell, you can come on the show if you want.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, I mean this is just one of those things from Motorhead or from Megadeth that was just like, holy shit. Like I've seen some good concert footage from them before, but I've never seen anything like this. Like these guys just went above and beyond what the material usually is and came up with that. It was just like, let me see if I can find it. Hang on.
Euthanasia. Super Collider.
It's from the 2002 Rude Awakening set list. I just looked it up.
Ah, okay. 2002 Rude Awakening. So Red Theater was one of the places that they played at.
But yeah, the Web Theater, I think, was the place they recorded it at.
Okay, yeah, I see that here.
But if you guys have not seen that live performance, go look it up on YouTube. It's available. And their live version of She Wolf is just absolutely monstrous.
Was the lineup at the time Jimmy DeGrasso and Al Pitrelli?
I think it might have been. I know it wasn't Marty Friedman.
Yeah, that's probably one with Al Pitrelli. So this is the live. The tour is in support of The World Needs a Hero, right?
I don't know that, but I do know it was part of the Rude Awakening set.
Part of the Rude Awakening compilation disc. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Sounds good.
And Jesus, did they do a good job of this? And that's without, in my opinion, their best lead guitarist, which is Marty Friedman. And no one will ever convince me otherwise that anyone will ever replace Marty Friedman as a lead guitarist in Megadeth in terms of quality.
Oh, absolutely. Friedman is just top notch, dude. Top notch.
You just need to listen to Rust in Peace to have an idea of what that man can do, and it's just retarded. Like
He's really creative
what?
too, and he has great songwriting instincts. And I hope his creativity wasn't hampered in Megadeth, because what he contributed was fantastic. It wasn't just his technique; it was how he thought about the parts he came up
It's how he approached the
Yes,
music.
how he approached it. Yes.
Mm.
And he was very different from the previous couple albums and their lead guitarist. And I think that's one of the reasons almost every solo on Rust in Peace stands out. Whether it be Tornado of Souls, whether it be Hangar 18, whether it be Holy Wars. Like, it was just like a nonstop parade of
Remember that
insane solo after insane solo, and like people's jaws were just on the floor.
Yeah. So they started with Dave Poland, who is a jazz guitarist. Then they get Jeff Young, who is more of a rock guitarist.
It's funny, a lot of Megadeth guys are jazz musicians.
Yes. So Jeff Young was a jazz musician too?
I don't think Jeff Young was. I know their drummer at the time,
Gar Samuelson. Yeah, that first
was
lineup
also a
is
jazz
Gar and Dave, and they're both jazz musicians. So they go from jazz musician guitar player to kind of mid-tier rock guitarist in Jeff Young to like full-on neoclassical shredder with Marty Friedman. And that just kind of took it to another level for those several years.
And don't get me wrong, Peace Sells is still one of my favorite rock albums of all time.
Oh, of course. Yeah, same with me. I actually like So Far So Good, So What more than...
Yeah, that was another great one from them. But Rust in Peace just was a whole nother plane of existence. Like, these guys just ascended to like top tier metal god status on just that record.
Mm-hmm.
And Courtney, I know the school you're talking about. That's Berkeley in Boston, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a couple. I got a couple guys. I got a couple guys I know who went there.
They were the class of. Were they the class of '85, something like that? When did they form? Because I think they formed when they met each other in Berkeley, right?
Well, in Megadeth's case.
No, I'm talking about in Dream Theater's case.
Oh, Dream Theater. I don't know actually. Comic Relief Crusader. Hey, how's it going, man? For those of you who don't know, Comic Relief Crusader is the one who did my channel icon.
Hail.
And he's just a great dude in general. Glad to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Yep, Berkeley is absolutely that school. Yeah, Berkeley School of Music is interesting.
They a lot of the really well-known jazz and metal musicians in particular do come from Berkeley, and they're considered like Juilliard is for classical music.
Hmm.
What Berkeley would be like the equivalent for jazz, metal, almost about every other genre, but specifically for people that excel with like metal music in general, just because of like the kind of education you can get at Berkeley. It's just top tier. But
Oh yeah, I mean, like when it comes to actual musical education, like
Mhm.
these guys know their shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's part of the reason why it's like with Dream Theater, they're just sort of world renowned, not just for like how good the music is if you really like progressive rock, progressive metal, but just the musicianship. Like John Petrucci knows his shit. It's
Oh, they
absolutely
all
insane.
do. I mean,
They all do. Yeah, yeah.
even once guys have like split off from that band and gone on to other stuff like Mike Portnoy,
Mhm.
Is Mike
he's
Portnoy the most
still.
famous member of that band? Because I think he is.
Um,
I mean, he might be because he's
debatably.
been in like three bands since then, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah,
He took
debatably.
he took over for Jimmy Sullivan when he died
Mhm.
with A7X.
Yep, yep.
He also,
Not that Avenged Sevenfold is the best metal band ever, but they had a hell of a drummer, and he filled in for them while they found another one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as like, I guess it's subjective, but as far as like, if you want to talk guitarists, like John Petrucci is probably like the most popular guy, with Dream Theater, but he
mhm.
still runs Dream Theater. But yeah, I mean, Mike Portnoy, like he's like god tier level drummer. Like he's just really, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on who you ask and like if they're a guitar player or if they're a drummer or if they're just like a fan of music in general. But yeah, I mean,
No, I mean, like, that's just kind of
Maybe
the
it's
way it
sort of like
is.
the Mandela effect, where I see Mike Portnoy more,
mm,
and I just assume he's more well known because I see him more in interviews. See, Mike Portnoy is one of the is a guy who can do interview after interview and be kind of like a face or an aficionado about the subject without coming off as a douchey rock asshole like um what's his name, Dave Grohl, who has to be the face
oh
of rock.
yeah, yeah. No, actually, you would be right about that. I think more so like just from what I've heard and seen of John Petrucci and some of the interviews he's done, he does seem like a more private person, whereas Mike Portnoy is definitely more outgoing
Mhm.
and like you see him in a lot more interviews. So yeah, yeah, you're right with that. That's probably why he's more well known. He's more out there.
Really nice guy, just
Yeah.
seemingly like a really down to earth, cool guy.
No, not allowed, Courtney. You get back here. You get back here right now.
Join us and have the fun.
Exactly. But no,
Mm,
in addition to that, there's been a lot of performances
mm.
that have been around. I'll bring up, probably the best live performance by any rock artist of all time. Queen at Live Aid in 1985
100% agree.
for a 20-minute set. That is just
Yeah,
mind blowing.
yeah.
Hmm.
And yes, as we're talking live albums and live performances as well, even if they didn't record it
On
for
a
an
CD.
album.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, really impactful. I mean, you can see that live performance by Queen on YouTube as
Yeah,
well. I
it's
think the
available
whole
for free on YouTube and every other streaming platform. It
think the whole
was
set.
just
Like
You
they
were
have
there?
mm,
Oh wow. She
no. Oh, who was there?
she was
Queen,
there at I think the American side of
no no
Live Aid.
wait,
Oh,
was Queen on the, because it's a Courtney saying she was there and saw it.
Courtney, were you there for at Wembley or were you there at the American side? because those two, I mean, both episodes were fantastic shows.
Mm.
Mhm.
But Queen's performance was just, I mean, you can see for yourself. It's gone down. Oh, so she was at the American side. All right.
So you remember Judas Priest and Sabbath playing?
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They were both on the U.S. side of the channel, which is interesting.
Yes, Soul Assassin, Live Aid 85.
And just that one set by Queen, I can't even imagine being the band that came on after them because they were in the middle of the set or they were in the
Yeah,
middle of the show.
yeah.
So, like, could you imagine following that? Like, that was one of the most evocative and incredible rock performances of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to follow that.
Yeah. Just no beating it.
You just be like, fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, hands down. Queen. All the guys for sure, but Freddie Mercury singing is the most impactful
And that was
I've
sadly one
heard.
of the last times he'd ever play live.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but
At least he went out on a high note where you just see just how dominant he was as a presence on the stage.
mm,
Like he just owned that entire arena from the minute they took the stage and he started singing. He just owned it.
yeah.
It was just like you don't have a fucking choice. This is my show now, and you're gonna love every fucking second of it.
Right. Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah.
It was one of those just like holy shit. I can't imagine another guy. I mean, and that was kind of why Queen was just like, Freddie, we're not going to do this without you.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, I wish they hadn't. Don't get me wrong. I do like some of the stuff they did with Paul Rogers and stuff like that. But it's one of those when you lose a singer like that, you just let the band go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that was apparently one of his dying wishes was that they keep the band going without him.
Mm,
So I understand why they're doing it, but it's kind of one of those. It's like I don't know about that. That was one of those like don't get me wrong. I've heard some of the Adam Lambert stuff, and I don't hate it, but it's clear he's trying to be Freddie Mercury, and he's just not.
I can't listen to it, man. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's just listening to Freddie Mercury, like that's Queen for me, you know.
Yeah, no, like that. Like if it's not Freddie, it's not Queen.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong. Some of the Paul Rogers stuff is good.
Yeah.
And they don't try to say it's Queen. It's Queen and with Paul Rogers.
Mm.
And for those of you who don't know, Paul Rogers also had a long career with Bad Company.
Yeah, that's
before he did this. And I think he had his own band for a while. So, he's no slouch and he's no rookie. Adam Lambert, on the other hand, it was just like, really? We're just going to let this dude out here to do this now?
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Which I haven't heard any of the audio from it. It might be good. It might not. It's one of those, I don't care. Because it's not Queen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love how, like, we have, like, all of these guys who are, like, hardcore metalheads. Like, especially, like, Herbs, you are into, like, the darker, like, heavier side, like, the death metal scene.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Sentinel are both into, like, those hard screaming guitar, freaking heavy and speed metal bands.
Mm-hmm.
But every single one of us loves Queen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, man.
Queen for me was one of the first bands that percolated my love of music because I remember the Highlander TV series, and I remember watching it as
Yes.
a little kid.
I
And the
love.
beginning of the show was Princes of the Universe, and
I love
that
that,
was
dude.
an incredible song.
I've always loved that song. I've always loved that show too.
Yeah,
Even
I-
in later years when I rewatched it, it's pretty fucking good. It holds up pretty
it
well.
is.
I
Because I
have.
remember it was right on. It was on right after Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
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 So I
Yeah.
used to watch that after DS9 got over. So
I
that was a great 2 hours of television when you have Star Trek DS9 and then Highlander.
Mhm.
Yes.
I recognize Highlander, but I haven't seen it. Like for me, where I heard Queen was Mighty Ducks. Like
Oh yeah.
it's much more
Yeah.
common, I guess. But dude, I friggin' love Mighty Ducks, and yeah,
But
that's where I
if
first
you've
heard
ever
of them.
if you've ever seen the Highlander movie,
Mhm.
they did the entire soundtrack.
Okay, okay.
That was actually
And that's actually probably my favorite Queen album. It's a kind of magic.
yeah, it was
Mm.
also kind of doubles as the soundtrack for Highlander,
Okay.
the movie. Now, the TV show I'd also recommend
Mm.
because Adrian Paul actually did a good job.
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
Okay.
He
I'll have to
plays a
look that
different
up.
character, another relative of the
Oh, Connor McLeod, yeah.
of Connor McLeod. He's Duncan McLeod,
Okay.
and it's cool. It's like, okay, we don't want to do a continuation of the character in the movies because that's been done.
We want to do a side story.
We want to do a side story
the
about a
next
relative and
era, essentially.
flesh out his character because you can really do that with a TV show.
And if I remember right, it was the next tournament essentially
Hmm.
because obviously there can be only one, and at the end of the first Highlander movie, Connor takes it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the only problem with the first Highlander movie is it kind of the tournament is ended essentially at the end of the film, so there's not
Well,
really
there's a
anywhere.
lot of things to be said of it should have ended there.
Mhm.
No, the TV show I thought was good
Yes, it
Mhm.
is. It really is.
because again they didn't try to change the setting, they didn't try to reset everything. They're just like, okay, yeah, no, he's a thing that exists, but this is the next generation.
It also was I don't remember the movies doing this, but it also introduced female immortals and
Yes.
the trying to have a relationship between two immortals and see how long that lasts, and it's kind of interesting in that sense
Well, I mean,
because
it is
they're
kind of
supposed to kill each other.
well,
in a
it's
sense.
kind of fun in the at some point they're going to have to kill each other.
Yeah,
Hmm.
And so it's kind of that like doomed love thing that is very compelling in storytelling. Like it's going to end in tears, but it has to happen. So it is fairly fun. But I actually have to go.
Mm.
okay.
So I did want to just mention a lot of our this live stuff while we're out here, and give you guys something for this week because I don't have a lot of time. Obviously, I'm starting to get seriously into preparing for a move, so
Mhm.
a lot of my time has to be spent elsewhere. And Lord Thoth, praise be Lord Thoth. But also, I'm sorry you're just coming here now because we're about to end it. But Herbs, what do you got going on this week?
So, yeah, I have a project that I just got accepted into for a heavy metal band. So I'm going to be spending a lot more time, just kind of like behind the scenes writing music. And yeah, I don't know how much I'll be streaming throughout the week, but definitely do have a couple of streams planned. So like probably like Wednesday and Thursday in the middle of the week. Twitch.tv Sergeant Herbs if you go y'all want to check it out. But yeah, no, I got some things going on in the background, so be a little bit more busy and writing music rather than doing like video content. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be streaming on Twitch a little bit throughout the week. But yeah.
And yes, I will be on 70s Rock Band's channel tomorrow.
Mm.
That should be a great fucking episode.
Mm-hmm. I'll be there watching that for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out myself.
Yeah. And Sentinel, what do you got going on, man?
I am still very, very busy with other things, and I can't really make any kind of content for my channel right now. But if you are a fan of self-made music videos or fan-made music videos, and you like Queen, go check out my Wolverine fan-made music video.
Ooh.
It is uh, Who Wants to Live Forever based, and it's kind of like that theme of Wolverine being immortal. So check it out. I put some decent footage there. You might enjoy it.
Nice.
And you can find me on Instagram at the Sentinel43. And of course, just type in the Sentinel on YouTube. I've been here long enough that I'm now in the results, luckily.
Nice, nice.
And as for me, you guys can catch me here every Sunday for Rock and Roll Religion. As always, if you guys want a subject covered or you want us to do a certain album or band, leave it down in the comments. And I can't promise I'll get to it right away, but we will. I do see it, and I will get to it. And if you want to come on the show, then absolutely we'll get to it. And tomorrow you can find me on 70s Rock Band's channel for It's Only Talk and Roll, where we are going over the LA and California in general metal scene from the 80s and 90s. And hopefully you guys will join us for that, because we got a really cool guest for that one, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. But other than that, you can find me on here. I am on Twitch. I stream very infrequently, just when I want to or have time to. At Pope_Metallicus. And other than that, I kind of in the chats with the rest of you guys. So and me and Fish Jozo actually talk about anime and tabletop every now and again. So look out for those. And other than that, stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.